Good morning, dear students. Today we will study chapter 8, body movements. In this chapter we will study about that how different parts of the body they make body movements possible. We'll study about skeletal system, we'll study about various types of joints present in our body, and then we'll study about various types of skeleton. Then we will see that how movements takes place in the various organisms like earthworm, snails, cockroach, fish, birds, etc. So let's start the chapter. So as the chapter is all about body movements, so we know that body movements that are very important. So as to perform our day-to-day activities, we have to move our body parts. We have to make body movements. So these are very important. If we talk about the various types of the other organisms, other animals they also move from one place to another in search of food, water, etc. And they also move from one place to another so as to save themselves from the predators. So in this chapter now we'll study that how this body movements it becomes possible. So the first is locomotion. The movement of an organism from one place to another is called locomotion. So when there is movement of an organism from one place to another, so such movement is known as locomotion. So now let's talk about skeletal system. Okay, before moving on to skeletal system, yes, because here we are going to study about the body movements. So in different types of the organism, body parts they move differently. For example, if you talk about the birds, they can fly. Okay, if we talk about the fish that can swim in water. So because the different organisms they live in the different habitats, and because of their different body structures, so their body parts they move differently. Okay, so let's start now with the skeletal system. So what is skeletal system? So bones in our body they are arranged so as to make a framework. That framework is known as skeletal system. Skeletal system it provides protection to the delicate organs, it provides shape and support to the body. So if we talk about the skeletal system, it has been divided into two parts. Okay, so we study it into these two categories: axial skeletal system and appendicular skeletal system. If we talk about the skeletal system in the human body, the skeletal system it consists of bones, joints and cartilage. Human skeletal system it consists of 206 bones. So let's start first with the axial skeletal system. Axial skeletal system it consists of skull, vertebral column and chest bone. If we talk about the appendicular skeletal system, it consists of pectoral girdle, pelvic girdle, bones of arms and legs. So now we'll see this. It will be more easy for us to understand these things with the help of the figures. So now we will study axial skeletal system and appendicular skeletal system in detail with the help of the figures. Now we will study about axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton with the help of these figures. So let me zoom it. So if we talk about the axial skeleton, so you can see it consists of skull, chest and the vertebral column. This is the vertebral column, that is also known as the backbone, present at the back. So this is about the axial skeletal system, and this is the appendicular skeletal system. So the appendicular skeleton system it consists of shoulder girdle, pelvic girdle and the bones of arms. Okay, the bones of arms and the bones of legs. Let me show you. So we can see here these are the bones of legs. We'll see this in detail after some time. So this was the overview about the axial and the appendicular skeleton system. So now let's study about the axial skeletal system in detail. As I told, it consists of skull. So first start with the skull. Skull is the bony framework of the head. The upper part of the skull, it is made up of 8 flat bones joined together, that is known as cranium bones. And the face and the jaw, it contains 14 bones. The skull, it encloses and protect the very important part of the body known as brain. So this was about skull, and the next is about the chest bones. So next is about the rib cage. So this rib cage, let me zoom it for you. Okay, let's try to study it with the help of the next figure. So this here you can see this is the rib cage. So the rib cage, it is present in the chest region of the body. It is made up of the 12 pairs of the bones called as ribs. These are known as the ribs. So the rib cage, it is made up of the 12 pairs of bones called ribs. And the ribs, they are joined to the chest bone in the front. This is the chest bone called sternum. So the ribs in the front, they are connected to this chest bone called sternum, and to the backbone which is at the back. This is backbone at the back. So the ribs, they are joined to the chest bone, sternum in the front, and to the backbone behind, and it forms a cage like structure. Okay, so that's why the name rib cage. It protects lungs, it protects the delicate organs like lungs and heart. So this is about rib cage. So this is our rib cage. Next is the vertebral column. This is the vertebral column. This is vertebral column, which is also known as backbone. It is made up of the 33 ring-shaped small bones which are called vertebrae. And this vertebral column, it is strong and flexible. Vertebral column, or you can say the backbone, it acts as the central support system for the body, because along with the hip girdle, it helps us in standing straight, and it also provides it support during the locomotion, and it also protects the spinal cord. So this was all about the backbone. So now we have covered the axial skeletal system, which consists of skull, vertebral column, and the chest bones, also called the rib cage. Now we will talk about appendicular skeleton. So here it consists of shoulder girdle, pelvic girdle, bones of arms, and the bones of legs. Now we will see all this in detail. So let's first start with the shoulder girdle, or we can say the pectoral girdle. So the pectoral girdle, it consists of two bones, clavicle and scapula. And this shoulder girdle, or you can say the pectoral girdle, it provides the attachment for the upper limbs, which are known as the arms. Oh, okay, what are the limbs? Arms and legs, they are known as limbs. Upper limbs means arms, lower limbs means legs. Okay, in this picture it is more clear. Okay, so the shoulder girdle, it consists of the clavicle and the scapula, which you can see here at the back. It provides the attachment for the upper arm. So here we can see the pectoral girdle, it provides the attachment for the upper arm. So now let's see pelvic girdle. So the pelvic girdle, this is the pelvic girdle. It consists of pelvic bones. This is the area where you sit in. So here this pelvic girdle, it consists of pelvic bones. It provides the attachment for the legs. Okay, here there is the cavity. Here this is the cavity where the legs, they attach to this pelvic girdle. So now we will see the bones of human arm and the bones of human leg. So here we can see this is the bone of the upper arm, which is known as humerus. This humerus bone, it is connected to the two bones in the lower arm. So the lower arm, this is lower arm, which consists of radius bone and the ulna bone. So this was about the bones of human arm. Now next is bones of human legs. So if you can see here, this is femur. This is the femur bone. Okay, and femur is the longest and the strongest bone of the human body. And after this, here you can see at the knee there is the patella bone, and at the lower leg, here you can see in the lower part of the leg, it consists of the two bones, tibia and fibula. So let's revise one more time. Bones of human leg: femur, patella. In the lower leg there are two bones, tibia and fibula. So this was all about the bones of human leg. So I hope the appendicular skeletal system, it is clear. So now we will talk about different types of joints. What are the joints? Joints means that join something. What is the need for the joints? What is the significance of the joints in the human body? Okay, let's try to perform some activities. Eat something without folding your arms. Climb stairs without folding your knees. And try to write something on paper without folding your fingers. So these activities tells us that how joints are so important for us. So what are joints? Joints are the parts where the two or more bones meet. So if we talk about the joints, they help in the body movement. Joints, they have been classified into the different categories. First is the immovable joints. Immovable joints. Second is slightly movable joints. Third is freely movable joints. So let's start with the immovable joints. So very clear from the name. Immovable means the joints which do not provide any type of the movements. I told you that joints, they help in the body movements. But immovable joints are the joints, these are the joints which do not provide any, which do not allow any type of movement. So if we talk about the examples are the like joints of the bones present in the skull. If we move on to the next, slightly movable joints. So the slightly movable joints, these type of joints, they allow movement, they allow little movement, slightly means up to some extent. So slightly movable joints, they allow little movement. For example, the joints in the bones of the backbone, which we call vertebrae. Next is freely movable joints. Freely movable joints means these allow a variety of the movements. These joints, they are further classified into the 4 categories. So first is ball and socket joint. Ball and socket joint. Next is hinge joint. And third is pivot joint. And the last one is gliding joints. So let's see what are these different types of joints. Let's start with the ball and socket joint. See, ball and socket joint. So in this type of joint, so the two bones, so one end of the one end of the bone which has a ball-like structure, it fits into the socket of the another bone. So let's try to understand it with the help of the figure. So it's given in your book on page number A104. So here you can see one bone at end, it has a ball-like rounded structure which fits into the cavity of the another bone. So ball and socket joints, these are found in the shoulder and the hips. Ball and socket joint, it allows movement in all the directions. As you can see, try to rotate your shoulder. Okay, so ball and socket joint, it allows movement in all the directions, or we can say it allows movement up to 360 degrees. Now let's move on to the next, hinge joint. So you might have seen the doors, how the doors, they are attached to the door frame. Doors, they are attached to the door frame with the help of the hinges. Okay, so these types of hinge joint, they are available, they are found in the knee and elbow. Hinge joint, it allows movement up to 180 degrees. Okay, let's see, I told you hinge joint, they are found in the knee and the elbow. So let's try to make the movement here. So you can see that we can make the movement only up to some extent, up to 180 degrees. Okay, we can move our arms with the help of this joint forward and backward. So this is about the hinge joint. Next is pivot joint. Pivot joint is the joint where our neck it is connected with the head. So in case of the pivot joint, as you can see in your book given on page number A105, here you can see the rounded surface of the one bone. It fits into the ring-like structure formed by the another bone. So if we talk about the pivot joint, it allows movement sideways also, and it allows movement up and down, but up to some extent. We cannot rotate our neck fully. So next is gliding joint. So the gliding joint, it is found in the ankles and the wrist. If we talk about the wrist, so here in the wrist portion, it consists of the 8 bones. So these bones, they have the flat ends. These bones, they can glide over each other, or we can say they can slide over each other. So that's why the name gliding joint. So gliding joint is found in the ankles and the wrists. So I hope it's very clear about the joints. Now let's move on to the next topic. Yeah, but before moving on to the next topic, here in your book on page number A105, X-ray picture has been shown. If we talk about the X-ray picture, so it shows us the images of the bones inside the body. X-rays, they can pass through the skin, muscles, but they cannot pass through the bones. So the X-ray images that shows us the shapes of the bones, and it is X-ray pictures, they are used by the doctors so as to locate the fracture in the bones. Okay, if any injury has happened to the bone, so the doctors, they can identify the location of the fracture in the bones with the help of these X-ray images. Now let's move on to the muscles. Now the next is muscles. If we talk about the muscles, they are the soft elastic tissues. It helps bones make movements at the joints. So if we talk about the muscles, we need to know some characteristics about the muscles. Muscles, they work in pairs. And muscles can only pull the bone. As I told, the muscles, they work in pairs. So what is the meaning of that? It means if one muscle, it relaxes, the another contracts. What is the meaning of the muscle contract? When muscle contract, it becomes shorter, stiffer and thicker. Okay. So muscles, they work in pair. That means if one muscle, it relaxes, so another contracts. When muscles contract, muscles become shorter, stiffer and thicker. So now let's try to understand. The image has been shown in your book given on the page A106. So the muscles, they are attached to the bones with the help of the tendons, and the muscles attached to the bones, they make them move at the joints. Okay, so here you can see in the book, it has been shown, this is the upper arm bone that is known as humerus, and here you can see there are the two muscles attached to this. So what is this? One is tricep and one is biceps. Now if you will try to bend our arm, so what happens, as I am talking about the upper arm, which is upper arm bone, which is known as humerus bone. So here there are the two muscles. Upper one is known as the biceps and the lower one is known as the triceps. So what happens when we bend the arm? So you can see here, you can feel the bulge here. So what happened? So the muscle, the bicep muscle, it has contracted. It has got contracted. Okay. So when the bicep will contract, tricep will relax. And as I told you, when they contract, the muscles become shorter, stiffer and thicker. So when we bend the arm, so what happens? The bicep, it contracts and the triceps relax. And when the bicep, it will contract, it will pull the bone. And if I want to bring the arm back to its original position, if I want to bring the bone back to its original position, then let's bring the arm back to its original position. So what happens in this case? Now the bicep, it relaxes and the triceps, it contracts. Okay. And it will bring the bone back to its original position. It will be more clear with the help of the figures. So let's try to understand it with the help of the figures. As we know that muscles work in pair. When one of them contracts, the another one relaxes. Okay, so bend your arm at the elbow. So what you will notice that in this situation, the bicep, it has got contracted. So you can see when muscles, they contract, they become shorter and thicker. So when the bicep, it contracts, it pulls the bone. Now we know that muscles, they can only pull, they cannot push the bone. So now as to move the bone in the opposite direction, so now the tricep, it will contract to pull the bone towards its original position, and now in this case the bicep, it has got relaxed. So we can see here the bone, it has come here in this original position. Okay, a muscle, it can only pull, it cannot push. So the two muscles, they have to work together to move a bone. Now, after understanding this, now let's talk about the skeletons of the other animals. Like when we talked about the skeleton system of the human body, then in the human body the skeleton is endoskeleton. Endoskeleton means the skeleton present inside the body. So let's see one time the various types of the skeleton. So these are the types of skeletons. So types of skeletons. So let's start with the liquid skeleton. Liquid skeleton. Next is exoskeleton. And the third is endoskeleton. If we talk about the liquid skeleton, for example, earthworm. As you can see in your book, it's given on the page number A106. So liquid is trapped in the spaces inside the body. If we talk about the exoskeleton, so if here the example is earthworm, here the example is earthworm. So now let's first talk about the endoskeleton. Endoskeleton means the skeleton present inside the body. For example, human being. Skeleton of the human beings. Okay. If we talk about the exoskeleton, exo means outside, endo means inside. So exoskeleton means the skeleton present outside the body. Exoskeleton, examples if you talk, for example, crab and cockroach. So exoskeleton is the skeleton present outside the body. Exoskeleton, it provides protection, support, and it also allows the movement at the joints. So it was about the different types of the skeleton, or you can say the skeleton of the various animals. Now we will talk about the movements in the other organisms, like how earthworm moves, how snails move, how birds move. So we'll study about the movements possible in the other, how the movements takes place in the other organisms. So let's start. First we will talk about earthworms. First is movement in earthworm. Movement in earthworm. If we talk about the earthworm, so the earthworm, it is an invertebrate. It is invertebrate. So as given in your book, you can see the earthworm. If we see the body of the earthworm carefully, so you'll notice that the body of the earthworm, it is made up of the small circular segments. As you can see here, the body of the earthworm, it is made up of the small circular segments. So its body is segmented. Segments means the small sections. So the body of the earthworm, it is segmented. It is invertebrate. Invertebrate means the organisms which do not have backbone. So earthworm, it doesn't have backbone. They also do not have bones, but they have muscles. So how do earthworms, they move? Earthworm moves because of the repeated contraction and expansions of the muscles of the body. Okay, let me draw here earthworm. So as I told, the body of the earthworm, it is divided into the small segments. So how earthworm moves, and at the bottom of the earthworm, there are the small hair-like projections. I'm just making only these under the 2-3 sections. So such hair-type projections, which are known as setae, they are present on the bottom side of the earthworm. So how do earthworm moves? Earthworm. So let's discuss. Let's imagine it into the two parts. Let's say if earthworm is moving in that direction, it is the front part, and this is the rear part. Rear part means the back part. So how do earthworm moves? So earthworm, it first extends its front part. Okay, first it extends the front part, keeping its rear part fixed. Then it releases after that, it fixes the front part and then it releases the back end. It releases its back end, then it shortens the back part, then it shortens the rear end, and then it pulls its body forward. So like this, because of the repeated expansions and the contraction of the muscles, the earthworm moves forward. Now, the next is locomotion in the scale. If you will see in your book, snail has been shown here. So you can see the snail, this body of the snail, it is not segmented. It's the snail, its body consists of a head, tentacles. As you can see here, these are the tentacles and a thick muscular foot. And on the body of this, on the top of the body, you can see a shell-like structure. It is a shell-like structure which protects its body from the danger and cold. Snail, it moves, it is a very slow moving organism. It moves very slowly. It moves with the help of its thick muscular foot, which consists of the strong muscles. So snail, it moves very slowly. It moves with the help of its thick muscular foot. And when it moves, it releases a slimy substance, because of which this slimy substance, it prevents it from the injury, and it also helps in the movement. And after this, the next organism which we'll talk about next is the movement in cockroach. Movement in cockroach. Cockroach we all have seen. If we talk about the cockroach, it is also invertebrate. Cockroach is also invertebrate. That means cockroach doesn't have backbone. It has exoskeleton. So this exoskeleton, it also provides protection, support, and the exoskeleton, it consists of the different units joined together, which also allows the movement. If we talk about the cockroach, it consists of 3 pairs of legs. 3 pairs of legs and 2 pairs of wings. Cockroach, it can walk and it can also fly. The muscles near legs help cockroach in walking, and the muscles and the breast muscles, they help in moving wings when cockroach flies. So cockroach, it can walk also and it can fly also up to some distance. So this was all about the cockroach. Now the next is how the movement it takes place in the birds. How the birds, they move. Next is birds. So we know that birds, they can fly. So some birds, they can walk and fly as well. Some birds like duck, they can swim in water. So what is there in the structure of the birds which makes easy for the birds to fly in the air? Let's try to understand. So first is the streamlined body. Streamlined body shape. So streamlined body shape is the shape which is broad in the middle and tapered at the ends. So streamlined body shape, it allows the birds to fly easily in the air. It offers less resistance, means less opposition to the air. So streamlined body shape, it allows birds to fly easily in the air. Next is the hollow bones. Hollow bones means the bones, they are empty from the inside. So the hollow bones means they are light in weight. And second and third, the birds, they have strong but light wings. And the chest muscles, the strong chest muscles, they help in flapping the wings during birds fly. So this was all about that what are the characteristics in the structure, what are the special characteristics in the structure of the bird which help him in the flying. So it is streamlined body shape. Next is the hollow bones. Third is the strong with the light wings, and the chest bones, the strong chest bones, they help in flapping the wings while the birds fly. So after this, the next is fish. The movement in the fish. How do fish, they move in water? Movement in fish. We know that fish, they can swim in water. So the fish, The skeleton of the fish, it is covered with the strong muscles. So the muscles, the present in the front part, it curve the front part to one side and tail to the other side. As you can see here, the front part, it is curving to one side and tail to the another side. In this figure also you can see, now the front part is in this direction and tail in this direction. And then quickly the front part and the tail, they curve to the other side. So it gives a jerk. Jerk means push. So this gives a push to the fish. So because of such repeated jerks, the fish, it moves forward. And as I told, the fins, they help fish in the swimming, and they help in maintaining the balance during swimming. And tail, it helps in changing the direction. So this was all about that how fish move in water. Next is movement in snakes. So we all have seen snakes. How snake moves? Snake moves in the loops. Snakes, they have a long backbone. Snakes have thin muscles which are attached to the backbone and ribs. Snake, the body of the snake, it is covered with the hard scales which help him to crawl. So as we have seen, the snakes, they move in the loops. Each loop, it provides a push by pressing it against the ground. So as the snake, it moves in the loops, each loop provides us a forward push. So the snakes, they move in loops, not in the straight line. So dear students, this is all for chapter. Thank you.